What does it mean to be a vulnerable Christian man? Walking through life weak and powerless is not what Jesus had in mind for us. It's time to fight. It's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We are Obi, Shaun, Brandon, and Shane, and this is The Uncomfortable.
Hello and welcome back to The Uncomfortable Truth. We have Brandon Gill. This is our second episode with Brandon Gill. Glad to have you again.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, guys.
A lot of time has expired from the last recording.
37 seconds.
Yeah, we just stopped and restarted, but for you guys, it's been a couple days. We're going to jump back in. Shaun's going to pray, and then we're going to get back into Brandon's story.
Dear God, just thank you for these men. Thank you for what they mean to me, God. Just iron sharpens iron, Lord. And just, Lord, just help us to reach listeners, watchers, more subscribers, Lord, for you and for your glory. Help us to just plant the seed of Jesus. And we love you, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. So when we left off, we were talking about your wife had an appointment.
Sure.
You had just had Boston.
Correct.
Your youngest.
Uh-huh.
There were some things going on you thought weren't a big deal.
Right.
You go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
She comes out from the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong.
Right, yeah. She's with it wild as a ghost. And so gets in the vehicle with me and just sits there and just looks down and, I'm like, yeah, what's wrong here? So she looked up and she said, I think I have cancer. I'm like, wow. It took my breath away for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Seems like that moment still takes your breath away. Like now talking about it, that's
What's rolling through your head? Like, I mean, if anything, or is it so many things you couldn't process it, or
at the time? Oh yeah, I was like, I mean, I'm just thinking, he did the worst. You think the absolute worst?
Sure.
I'm like, wow, I have a young family, a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 2-month-old, and a wife with maybe cancer.
mm-hmm.
God, what am I going to do? At that time we stopped right there in the parking lot and prayed. Yeah.
Amen.
That's awesome. How many weeks went by before there was a positive diagnosis, or was it months or a few weeks?
How long did you have to wait to get?
This was on a Friday. On Monday we were back. They called us on Saturday.
Oh wow!
Said, need to get you back in here Monday.
Okay.
And then we were on the phone with MD Anderson Monday.
Wow.
Scheduling everything ASAP because it was aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at this time, are you just thinking? Are you mad at God? Are you thinking, God, what's going on? Are you feeling like a modern day Job here? Your business partner just died. Your wife's going to MD Anderson, or what are you thinking?
I'm thinking. I'm still kind of numb from the tragedy of Connor, and getting hit with this a couple months behind that. And a new child.
Sure.
It was definitely without having Christ in your life and knowing that He's the ultimate healer and physician.
Mm-hmm.
That it's and having that hope and knowing it would have been a lot harder. But we just when I say pray, we got in the war rooms.
Mm-hmm.
We boldly prayed.
yeah.
But yeah.
That's a lot to what I want the listener to understand, or Brandon, you to understand, is like speaking these things out. I know I'm sure you've talked about them before, but there's a lot of people out there who have recently experienced tragedy, who may have gotten some news that was very uncomfortable with somebody close to them that we don't know how to handle. There's so many circumstances in life that we go through. And sitting here, man, I appreciate you sitting here and talking about it, because it does make an impact on other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
When you say boldly,
mm-hmm.
That hit me.
Yeah, it made me just emotional for a second there, just thinking about
what do you think? Do you think that often as believers,
mm-hmm.
tragedy and or potentially life-changing events that are in front of us have to happen to us before we boldly seek him sometimes?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I think it was God's purpose. You know, in that to transform, you know, our next steps, you know, and reaching the lost, reaching the hearts that are needing Christ.
So would you say that you guys began to boldly seek him at a different level?
You think you're seeking Christ. You think you're doing what we're supposed to be doing until something like that happens. And then, it raises the notches several more bars.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, no doubt. Sure.
So you guys are boldly seeking him for guidance and prep and going in. I mean, so as a business owner with a business partner, a couple of them, to lose a business partner, that alone, like I'm going through in my head, that would take years in my mind to, I don't even know the right words.
Just even
because you still got business going.
Oh yeah,
and
no doubt.
You got all those moving pieces, and now you found out that your wife has aggressive breast cancer, and now you're planning, and you got a newborn baby, and you got 2 other kids. Yeah. So what was next? Like,
well, you got to just prepare and just have an agenda, and just follow what needs to be done. And so the next steps were just getting acute care and getting the process started to healing her, along with the continued prayers and the continued groups who are praying and so many praying. And then at that time, I think is when our story really was being exploited, and my wife was had her own mission started, our mission in planting seeds in other people's lives, because she immediately started just sharing what she was going through, and positive impact. I mean, just being positive every day, and had so many people following, and so many hearts were saying, "Hey,
There's no telling how many lives y'all changed and continue to change today right here on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, just people that were just saying, "Hey, I'm sending positive vibes to you." Those vibes come into prayers. I'm sitting and praying for you, and through the journey, as she was able to show what every day what God was doing in her life and her family's life, and what was what He was using that seemed to be so tragic, so bad, but for His good, to glorify Him and to impact those around us. So,
people pay attention to you on a certain level when you're just doing life. And when something tragic happens to you and you're still glorifying the Lord, people really pay attention to you because they say, okay, all that stuff that you were doing beforehand wasn't just you weren't just playing a game.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's serious. Like this is life-changing stuff, and you're still doing and you're amping up these things in order to push people towards Christ. It's almost like, for whatever reason, our world needs validation that no matter what happens to you, you're still going to follow that dude that you said you were going to follow before the tragedy and after the tragedy. Well, now I can listen to you. I heard you before, but I'm listening now.
Yeah.
It's powerful, man. No doubt about it. It's I hate the fact that sometimes it takes God bringing me to my knees to really get my attention. For me personally, the only thing that I cannot relate to anything that you're talking about because I've never been through that. The only thing that I can even come close to relating is about 10 months ago was my battle with COVID. And there was people our age that were dying, and I remember thinking, this might be, this hasn't gotten into my lungs yet. I feel horrible. I've lost 20 pounds. I'm in a bad place. I'm extremely ill. And I just remember, dropping to my knees and just pleading with God and saying, what do you have for me in the midst of this? What do you need me to do? I'm just, and reminding God, Jeremiah 29:11. You know, your plans are to prosper and to I give you all the glory and praise, and your plans are to prosper me and to give me a future. Where is this my future?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like pleading with God on my knees in my closet, crying out to God, like, I need help. I need you to heal me.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, you know, I feel like that, you know, with you and your trials and tribulations are just at a whole nother level from what I was at. And I was in a low spot in my life, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I just wanted God to heal me and my wife in that
Yeah.
moment, because she had it equally as bad as I did.
I remember talking to you 14 days of one of those 100+ fevers.
Yeah.
You know, and you were
And
just,
it was a scary time for me.
oh yeah.
And you know, I just don't, you know, I'm not interested in being humbled. You know, I don't want to be humbled. I want to walk in humility 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And you know, and sadly, because we live in a broken world, and for the wages of sin is death. Unfortunately, we all have to die one day.
Yeah.
And it's in the meantime, I don't want God to have to humble me to get my attention. But at the same time, that's where the greatest testimonies are created.
Oh man.
Maybe that's why this happened. Maybe that's why. I mean, I don't want to speculate or act like I know what God's plans are, you know, but they're greater than my plans.
Oh man.
And you know, it's wild.
I'm curious. You know, I mentioned earlier when I knew that my calling was to follow the Lord and commit to Him. James 1:2 has always been kind of my
go-to,
and I use it often with buddies of mine and people who are going through trials. And it basically just says what Shaun just says: "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds." And then 3 is, "For you know the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." It reminds me, I heard this the other day, and I was like, that is so good. We are not promised to be healed here on earth. We are promised eternal healing when we know Him.
That's right.
There's
Amen.
nothing that promises us to walk this earth without disease or challenge or strife or loss. And there are some out there. I read this the other day. They were asking Mother Teresa. They said, you know, "What do you do when you pray?" I mean, we're talking to Mother Teresa here. She goes, "I listen." "What do you do after that?" "I listen some more." And so you said boldly approaching God. He wants that from us. He wants to have that personal, deep trust and dependence to where literally there is nothing else that can surpass that relationship with Him. What was your, did y'all have a verse or a passage or a?
Well, I mean, I mentioned that Philippians. We had shirts that, you know, Philippians 4:6.
Yep.
And so, you know, worry about nothing, pray about everything, but also I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But I mean, I know that, you know, this journey was all I tell everybody every day. I tell families every single day that we all have a story to share. It's whether or not we share that story.
Ooh,
you
that's
know,
good.
and we all have a story. And my story was just beginning. My story was a movie that was made by God to put me where I'm at today, to impact hearts, because I can't tell you how many people I pray with weekly, because I'm in a place to pray with people and families and share my story and watch hearts be turned over. So I know that was all impactful and set up through Christ for where I'm at today.
That's pretty awesome.
The Lord was preparing you,
Yeah.
like going through all those things in your life, which are, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
terrible. But looking back, isn't it? I mean, it's crazy looking back in our lives, and you might have gotten to see it more than we have seen it in our own lives, because we haven't had the tragedies or the tough things. But looking back, and when we get to see where God was preparing me, I just realized that 10 years ago, God did something in my life that I got to see why He did that.
Yeah, man.
It's nuts, and it's awesome when we get to actually see
the full
fruit.
circle.
Yeah.
Of
Doesn't happen
of
very
God's
often.
master plan. Yeah, you're right.
or
it
it's-
doesn't.
or we're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Me. Yeah.
I think all
lot.
of us. So
Yeah.
I want to read 4:6, and this one word just jumped out at me. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God. So anxiety,
Yep.
thanksgiving, letting know. Now here's the word that jumped out to me: supplication. Y'all know I love words and what they mean. The action of asking or begging for something earnestly or humbly. There's that word.
Yeah,
Basically, Lord, nothing matters but you
that's right.
and my relationship with you. You know, the testimony of Connor, the thing that jumps out to me is nobody wonders where Connor is at.
That's correct. That's correct.
And even if they didn't know him well, or even if they didn't get a big bid because he wasn't going to do something
That's right.
that wasn't pleasing to the Lord, but he boldly stood for why he wasn't. That is all about Jesus telling the disciples what's next in Acts before he ascended. And they're like, why are you leaving me now? And the angel basically says, get out there and get after it. And it only happens, especially in a world today where we're so disconnected from this personal, engaging, accountable, raw, vulnerable relationships with people.
Suppressed. Everyone's suppressed.
Suppressed. That's exactly right. And we have to
We
be
don't even
bold.
know it.
We don't.
That's right.
We don't know it.
Yeah, we have to prioritize putting ourselves out there. I spent some time with a good friend of mine this past week at the beach with our family, and he said, we're missing the boat if we don't understand that relationships are still the centerpiece of how we share Jesus. It cannot be done through a phone.
No.
That's
It might can
exactly right.
start,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, your personal journey has probably opened up the door to share Jesus more than anything
Oh, it
else.
has. You know,
And your wife's.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're out there in the trenches every day, man. You know, and it's pretty cool just to see you and your testimony and your all the opportunities you have. You're in the service industry. Even today, you know, it's but not oil and gas anymore.
Right.
You've gotten into the solar industry,
Right.
and
yeah.
so energy sector,
Mhm.
just a different energy sector,
Yeah.
and so yeah, you get to deal with customers day in and day out, don't you?
I do, and that's why I was saying the peak, the temple, the point of where this is all leading, because we believed and we knew and we proclaimed, we claimed victory over my wife's healing from day one. And when I say boldly, we were commanding God to heal my wife. And so and when you command, and you know, it's a different feeling whenever you know that Christ can heal, and you're telling Christ to heal your wife. But anyway, it led me to where I'm at now. I didn't realize at the time, a year and a half from her going through all the chemo, and it was like 2.5, 3 years of this stuff. 2014 into 14, the Oilfield took the huge crash. I mean, oil went from $100 a barrel to 25, 22, and so many people were just out of jobs, lost everything. And I was in a situation at that time where, it was a scary time in my life, because that's all I knew. I was born in this, and I also had a business, and so at the time I had to make a decision to liquidate, sell everything out, and pretty much figure out what I had to do in the midst of this journey with my wife, my family, and so much on the line, so many families I'm supporting, the business was supporting, and that was a tough time. And so, anyway, we did. We had to get rid of it. We had to sell, condense down, and just dissolve out. And with me not knowing what the next step was going to be, but God knew where the next step was headed. I had no idea. And like Shaun was saying, I went into that industry, and a friend of mine who was my rep who did all my alarms for me at my business, my house, and other properties. He said, once you look into consulting and into this industry, you can kind of figure out what you want to do. And so it took about a year off after I sold everything. Just had to think and figure out where I was headed next. And that led me into the smart home industry with alarms, et cetera, which plummeted me now into a solar business. And skipping forward, beforehand in the oil and gas industry, I was not able to speak to many families. I was always in my office or, on the phone, et cetera. And now I'm in homeowners' houses every single day, at the table with people looking for an answer, looking for more than solar power,
Looking for some power, huh?
Yeah,
and
I like
and
that.
I use my story is I provide power by the SON, not the SUN, and so I provide power by Christ.
Wow.
On the back of my house, I have a cross. A solar power system is designed in a perfect cross, and so I show every homeowner that cross, and I'm like, and I don't say nothing about it. And the first thing is, hey, that's a cross. I said, absolutely it is. We provide power by the SON, not the SUN. Let me tell you a little bit about how that works. Huh. And so I'm able to just share my story so many times. And so many times I'm at the table praying with people.
It's awesome, man.
And
that's really cool. It's encouraging, and it encourages me just to get out there and to share, the gospel more than I do. And we're in an industry where we can segue off of life insurance, and talk about life insurance. I tell everybody life insurance is important. In fact, it's the second most important thing you'll ever do behind your eternal salvation. Is protecting your family. And
that's right.
And it kind of opens that door. Like, what are you talking about? And especially if they don't know or don't believe, definitely is a door opener. And
right.
you have one too, and that's pretty awesome. And it's amazing to the testament of God's story in your life, and just what the trials and tribulations. And man, I tell everybody our hope is in the Lord, and y'all never let go of that hope. And so today Rainey's cancer-free, isn't she?
Cancer-free, yeah.
Praise God.
Her 10-year mark, is actually this year.
Okay.
Wow.
And she'll be released of all medication, her medication that she takes once a day. And, of course, we know she's been healed from, but Christ is the ultimate medication. But, yeah, she's released, and she's sharing her story, every single day. And so many people that she's connected with. My wife was a kind of a quiet, not a really outspoken in the groups of people before, but after getting through her journey through the sickness, she's just on fire for Christ, and just shares her testimony and her story so much, and so many women and people are reaching out to her just because of that. And again, it's just God's ultimate provision, ultimate plan.
So good.
Good stuff.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been a blessing.
Yeah,
Been a
no
real
doubt. Thank
pleasure
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being vulnerable
Yeah.
and sharing your story, man.
No
I know
doubt.
we know that's tough.
Anytime you speak on it, it hits some buttons,
Yeah.
But, that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's being open to what
Yeah.
Christ is doing in your
Absolutely.
life, man, and sharing with others.
God is love, man.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I'll tell you what hit me the hardest, just in the whole his testimony today, was we weren't just praying; we were in the war room.
Yeah.
I mean, and just to think about, if my wife got that diagnosis today, and how that would hit me, and how man, we'd be getting in the war room, and that is so powerful. I mean, it's so powerful, because man, we should be there every day.
Yeah.
Why does it
Yeah.
take that to bring us to that?
Oh,
And but it does, and to hear that is so humbling, brother. It is so humbling, and beyond what I can even explain. It's awesome.
one quick side note here I always like to think about something actionable, for somebody listening. And this is what I'm taking away from it. I don't pray enough with my wife. If I'm not married to a person that I can boldly seek Jesus with, I'm not doing something right as a husband, in my opinion.
Right.
And so I appreciate you sharing that, because how many times does the Bible talk about Christ loving, the church, and also Christ loving, this is the comparison to marriage.
The bride,
the bride.
We're oneness.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Man, good stuff.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
If you would hit those subscribe buttons, like, share. Somebody needs to hear Brandon's story, and it's going to lead them closer to Christ. And the way that you can help do that is by sharing it, putting it out there. We appreciate you being here.
Amen.
If you want to send us an email, if you have topics, prayer requests, anything, shoot us an email to realuncomfortabletruth@gmail.com. Go kick the day in the face, and we'll catch you on the next one.